Let me ask you something most doctors won't say out loud. If you're over 70, how fast do you walk across the room? Because in a major study published by JAMA, scientists found something shocking. Older adults who walked slower had twice the risk of dying in the next few years compared to those who walked just a bit faster. Not because of the walking itself, but because slow walking often means your heart, your muscles, even your brain, are starting to wear out quietly. And the scary part? Most people don't notice the signs until it's too late. Today, I want to show you 7 things that silently predict how long you'll live after 70, and more importantly, what you can do starting today to change that path. You know, over the years I've seen a pattern. When I sit across from someone in their 70s or 80s, maybe a retired teacher, a grandparent, a war veteran, they all ask me one thing eventually, though they rarely say it out loud. Doctor, how much time do you think I have left? It's not a morbid question. It's not fear talking. It's just that, at a certain age, people start thinking about what's next. They want to be prepared, not just for themselves, but for the people they love. And here's the truth most doctors won't say clearly: there are early warning signs that often predict how long you'll live after 70. They aren't found in your blood tests. They're not hidden in an MRI. They show up in how you move, how you feel, how your body holds itself together. And if you learn to spot them, and more importantly, do something about them, you could dramatically shift your odds. I'm not saying you'll live forever. But you can live better. And maybe longer too. Let's start with the first one. It's something so simple, you might not even notice it until it's too late. Brain sign number 1, walking speed, your body's hidden clock. Let me take you back to a moment I'll never forget. I was walking through a rehab ward at the hospital, where we help older patients recover after surgeries or falls. I saw 2 patients that day. One was Mr. Jacobs, age 74, recovering from a hip replacement. The other, Ms. Lorraine, also 74, was in for general weakness and fatigue. They were the same age. Similar health histories. But here's the difference. When we timed them walking 10 feet across the room, Mr. Jacobs walked confidently in 6 seconds. Lorraine took nearly 12. At first glance, it doesn't seem like a big deal. But medically, that difference could be life-changing. According to a groundbreaking study published in the Journal of the American Medical Association, walking speed is one of the strongest predictors of survival in older adults. In fact, researchers found that for every 0.1 meter/second increase in walking speed, there was a corresponding 12% decrease in the risk of death. Think about that. Just by moving a little faster, not running, not jogging, just walking, you reduce your risk of dying in the next 5 to 10 years. Why? Because walking speed is like a snapshot of your whole system. If your muscles are strong, your brain is sharp, your heart is pumping well, it shows up in how you move. And if something's off, walking is often the first place it shows. So here's my first piece of advice: time yourself. Pick a hallway at home. Walk 10 feet at your usual pace. If it takes you more than 6 or 7 seconds, that's a sign your body might be slowing down earlier than you think. But don't panic. This isn't a death sentence. It's a wake-up call. And we'll talk about how to turn that around in just a bit. Now let's move to the second sign, and this one is deeply emotional for many people because it has to do with the people you love. Broken heart sign number 2, social disconnection, the silent killer you can't see on a scan. You might not realize it, but one of the most powerful predictors of early death is in cancer, or heart disease, or even a fall. It's loneliness. A landmark study from Harvard, which followed people for over 75 years, found that those who felt socially connected, who had someone to talk to, laugh with, or share their struggles, lived longer, healthier lives. Those who were isolated, they declined faster. Physically, mentally, even spiritually. Now, I want to tell you about one of my former patients, Betty. She was 79 when I met her. Widowed, no kids, lived alone in a quiet neighborhood. Her physical health was surprisingly good for her age: blood pressure, cholesterol, all in range. But over time, she began coming to appointments less often. She said she didn't feel motivated. She stopped cooking. Her sleep worsened. Within a year, she lost 12 pounds and had a fall that landed her in the hospital. There was no single disease to blame. The issue was invisible. She had no one to live for. This is why I tell every older patient I meet, community isn't optional. It's medicine. Whether it's a walking group, a weekly phone call with your grandkids, or chatting with neighbors, those small connections can literally add years to your life. And yes, it's never too late to start. I've seen 82-year-olds find new friends at senior centers and turn their health around in ways that even medication couldn't. So if you're watching this and thinking, I don't really talk to anyone these days, please don't brush it off. Your brain, your heart, and your future need connection. Backhand index pointing right coming up next. In the next part, we'll look at another powerful sign, one that often shows up in your legs first, but quietly affects your entire body, muscle loss. And I'll share a story about a man who thought he was just getting old, until we discovered the real reason he was losing strength, and how he got it back in just a few weeks. Flexed biceps sign number 3, grip strength, what your hands say about the rest of your body. Let me take you into my office for a moment. It was a quiet Tuesday afternoon, and Mr. Donaldson, 76 years old, retired mechanic, tough guy, came in for his regular checkup. He didn't have any major complaints, just said he was slowing down a bit. As we chatted, I asked him to do a quick grip strength test. It's simple, just squeeze a small handheld device as hard as you can. His score was way below average. He laughed it off, saying, "Well, Doc, I'm not changing tires anymore, maybe I'm just getting soft." But I knew better. I'd seen the research. In 2015, a major study published in The Lancet followed nearly 140,000 people across 17 countries and found that low grip strength was a better predictor of death than blood pressure. That's right, not just heart disease, but overall mortality. Why? Because grip strength is a proxy for something much deeper, total body muscle strength. As we age, we lose muscle, a condition called sarcopenia, and that doesn't just mean we can't carry groceries or open jars. It means we're more likely to fall, struggle with recovery after illness, and lose independence. Mr. Donaldson didn't ignore the sign. We got him into a resistance training program, nothing fancy, just light weights and bodyweight exercises a few times a week. 3 months later, his grip was stronger. But more importantly, he said he felt alive again. He told me, "I can open pickle jars without asking my wife now. I think she likes that." So here's my advice to you, test your grip. If you can't hold a grocery bag easily, or if opening a tight lid feels like a chore, don't just accept it as aging. It's a signal, and it's one you can do something about. Now let's move on to the next sign, one that many people find surprising. Sign number 4, weight loss without trying, when it's not a good thing. Most of us grow up thinking weight loss is a good thing. And often, it is, especially if you've been carrying extra pounds for years. But after age 70, sudden or unexplained weight loss can be a big red flag. I remember a sweet woman named Irene who came in for a yearly visit. She was 81, sharp as a tack, always smiling. But when I checked her weight, she was down nearly 9 pounds since our last visit. She hadn't been dieting. She hadn't been sick. At first, she said it must just be better habits. But I knew better. Unintentional weight loss in older adults is often the first sign of underlying illness, including cancer, thyroid problems, digestive issues, or even early-stage dementia. A study from the Journal of Gerontology found that even a 5% body weight loss over 6 months in seniors is associated with significantly higher mortality rates. In Irene's case, it turned out to be early pancreatic cancer, caught just in time. She underwent treatment, regained some strength, and eventually said, "If I hadn't come in for that checkup, I wouldn't have known until it was too late." So don't ignore it. If you or someone you love is losing weight and not trying to, take it seriously. Sometimes, the quietest symptoms are the most dangerous. Next up, we'll talk about a sign that you might think is just about balance, but it's really about brain health, heart health, and even your risk of dying in the next 5 years. Sign number 5, struggling with balance. Fall today could change everything. Have you ever tried standing on one leg with your eyes open for 10 seconds? Go ahead, try it right now. If you can't do it without wobbling, or if you need to hold on to something, that's not just a balance issue. It's a predictor of early mortality. In 2022, researchers in Brazil published a study in the British Journal of Sports Medicine following over 1,700 people between the ages of 51 and 75. They found that those who couldn't stand on one leg for 10 seconds had nearly double the risk of dying within the next 10 years. It's not the balance test itself that's magical, it's what it reveals. Poor balance reflects problems in your muscles, nervous system, coordination, and sometimes even your heart and brain. In other words, it's a window into your whole body resilience. I once had a patient, Mr. Chang, who came in after a fall in his backyard. He wasn't injured badly, but the fall shook him. "Doc," he said, "I used to climb ladders for fun. Now I can't even trust my own legs." We got him into a balance retraining program, simple Tai Chi movements, leg strength work, and foot coordination drills. 6 months later, not only was he steadier, he had more confidence. And that confidence? It spread into every part of his life. So if you feel unsteady, don't wait for a fall to take action. Your brain and muscles are still adaptable at any age. Coming up, we're going to talk about one of the most overlooked signs of long life, and it has nothing to do with your body, but everything to do with your outlook on life. Sign number 6, your attitude toward aging, why your mindset might matter more than your medications. A few years back, I had a patient named Mary, 84 years old, lived alone after her husband passed, had arthritis, and a long list of prescriptions. But what stood out about her wasn't her medical chart. It was her attitude. Every time she came in, she'd smile and say something like, "Well, Doc, getting old isn't for sissies, but I'm still here, aren't I?" She walked slowly, but with pride. Her hands trembled, but she painted watercolors. And when her neighbor had a stroke, Mary was the one who brought over soup and helped organize a walker. She told me once, "I know things will get harder, but I also know I can handle hard things." Now here's the thing, Mary didn't just have a good attitude, she had a scientifically protective one. A study from Yale University, led by psychologist Dr. Becca Levy, followed older adults over decades. They discovered that those with a positive attitude toward aging lived an average of 7.5 years longer than those with a negative view, even after adjusting for health, wealth, gender, and loneliness. Think about that. Just believing that aging can be meaningful and manageable, that your life still matters, can extend your life more than quitting smoking or managing blood pressure. How? Because mindset affects stress levels, inflammation, hormone balance, and even how well your immune system works. Negative beliefs about aging, like "I'm too old for this" or "it's all downhill from here," create a self-fulfilling prophecy. People stop trying. They isolate. They become passive about their health. But people like Mary, they stay engaged. They stay curious, and that curiosity becomes longevity. So if you catch yourself saying things like, "I'm too old to exercise," or "What's the point?" Pause. Reframe it. Because how you think about aging is part of how you age. And speaking of the mind, next, we're going to explore one of the strongest biological indicators of long life, one that sits quietly between your ears, and yet determines how clearly you'll see, how well you'll move, and even how much joy you feel in the smallest moments. Sign number 7, mental sharpness, why cognitive decline can signal more than memory loss. Let me introduce you to Frank. He was a 79-year-old former architect who prided himself on keeping his mind sharp. Every morning, he did the crossword with black coffee. He played chess with his grandson on Sundays. And when he noticed he was forgetting names more often, he didn't just shrug it off, he came in. We ran a cognitive screening. It was mild cognitive impairment, not full-blown dementia, but the early signs of it. Frank didn't panic. Instead, he got curious. He asked, "So what can I do about this?" That question, that instinct to fight for his mind, was already a good sign. Now, here's what many don't realize. Declining memory isn't just about the brain. It can predict overall health decline, increased risk of falls, hospitalizations, and even death. The National Institute on Aging has reported that cognitive decline in older adults is closely linked to higher mortality risk, especially when it accelerates quickly. But here's the hope. The brain is plastic, even in your 70s and 80s. Frank changed his diet to include more leafy greens, berries, and omega-3s. He began short daily walks. He started learning Spanish on an app with his grandson. 6 months later, he wasn't just sharper, he was happier. I've seen this again and again. Those who fight for their minds, who stay mentally active, socially connected, and nutritionally nourished, extend not just their years, but the quality of those years. So if you notice your memory slipping, don't ignore it. Treat your brain like a muscle. Challenge it. Nourish it. And give it the care it deserves, because your brain is your command center, and it deserves just as much attention as your heart or lungs. Speech balloon now. We've walked through 7 powerful signs that can predict how long you'll live after 70. But these signs, grip strength, weight loss, balance, mindset, memory, are not destiny. They are signals. And signals are meant to be acted on. In the final section, we'll bring this all together with a real-life story that ties every piece into one powerful lesson. One that could change how you live the rest of your years, starting today. Older adult, the final story, the man who outlived his doctor. Let me leave you with one last story. It stayed with me for years. He was 92 when we met, a retired bus driver, widowed, soft-spoken, with hands that had seen decades of work. On paper, his chart was grim: diabetes, high blood pressure, stiff joints, even signs of memory loss. According to statistics, he wasn't expected to live much longer. But he kept showing up. Year after year. At 95, he was still tending to his tiny garden. At 97, he still insisted on walking to the mailbox, no matter the weather. And at 98, he was still calling his grandkids to remind them to take care of themselves. He once told me, getting old doesn't mean getting useless. It means I've got to show up twice as strong, for me. He wasn't obsessed with supplements. He wasn't perfect with his diet. But he had something powerful, a reason to wake up every day. A rhythm. A purpose. Here's what's wild. The doctor who first diagnosed him with heart failure actually passed away before he did. That's what we often forget. You can't always control the diagnosis, but you can control what happens next. The lesson. So what does this mean for you? It means every one of those signs we've talked about today, your grip strength, your walking speed, your weight, your mindset, they aren't just numbers. They're messages from your body, gently asking, are you still choosing life today? Because aging isn't just about what's happening to you. It's about what you're doing back. Take care of your muscles and your memories. Take care of your balance and your beliefs. Take care of your body and your reason for getting out of bed. Live like you matter. Because you do. Movie camera before you go. If this video gave you a new perspective on aging, if it made you pause and think, I've got more life left than I thought, then do one simple thing: give it a like. Leave a comment below and share. Which of these 7 signs surprised you most? And what's one small change you're ready to make, starting today? Don't forget to subscribe for more clear, compassionate health guidance made for older adults who want to keep thriving. Because your best years? They're not behind you. They're still unfolding.